There's a place, a school, an institution where a professor resides. One that for the past 30 years has traveled the world teaching others. A pioneer in America of the fighting science of Savate. One who codified the sports of this fighting style. One who has produced clubs, champions, and continues to develop. Listen to words.
Today we have a good special guest. We got Grandmaster Bram Frank, and we've been talking over the last week since the issues with the electricity and with the flights and no flights and all the freeze here in Texas. We're talking about the weapons of the French martial arts of Savate, Danse de Rue Savate, and where did they come from, how did they originate, and so on and so forth. It's very interesting for us to see that Canne has been alive and kicking since the 1800s, especially since 1803, the first school of Charles Cassou was the one that started the first school of Savate. But the person that is given credit for La Canne is a maître who was a brother to the founder of Boxe Française, which was Charles Lecour, which was the founder of Boxe Française in the 1830s. But his brother, Hubert Lecour, was the one that is giving credence to La Canne. And a lot of people might disagree, but that is what was told to me by Camperuzzi, Lafon, Professor Silvani, those people that I live with. And what I'm going to demonstrate is what's been passed on to me by these individuals, these professors, my professors, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a bit. But I'm going to talk about Hubert Lecour. He had a duel with two maîtres d'armes, okay? And this is when duels were allowed. One of them had a saber, and the other one had a short spear, that's what it's noted. And he blinded the person with a saber, and he broke the face, as they say, of the person with a short spear, with a cane. So when you look at those type of individuals, these guys were what we consider in the pugilist realm bone rollers and sidewalk thumpers and the whole nine bit, because these guys were what was going on. So his Canne took credence in a different format. You have to realize that in the 1800s, there were several types of French foot fighting. There was chasson, there was boxe française, there was savate, cipota, and each one of them had a way of using a walking stick, a cane. A lot of them were different, and you had sword canes that were in there as well. So you have to realize that, does this come from fencing, or does fencing come from the Canne? I don't know. I couldn't tell you that answer, and I'm not an archaeologist to go find out, but I'm just expressing what I've been told. In pre-1978, you had the two distinct fighting systems, French foot fighting systems. You had Boxe Française and Savate, which is true. Even though I know a couple of YouTubers there, they're going to say difference, but those are facts. You can go search it. And you had two distinct fighting with a cane. The sport of La Canne is giving credit to a professor by the name of Maurice Sadi. Maurice was an interesting individual. I met him. He was a professor of my professor, Paul Viviani, who taught me Canne, Baton, and I became a professor under the Comité National de Canne Baton back in 1994. Before Sadi passed away, we visited him at his house, and he said there's a progression, there's a concurrent discipline of weapons that a savateur needs to learn that comes from the same family. It goes, you start off with canne, then you go to baton, and you learn a whip, short whip, 4-foot whip. And I don't have one right now, but our silver gloves and Danse de Rue Savate have to learn a whip because it's part of the curriculum. That short whip was used. It was not a riding crop, it was a special whip that was used for defense. Imagine that, a short little whip. And anyway, then you had a flute, which was like a quarterstaff with a nunchuck hanging to the end that was taught, and we practiced a little bit. It was very interesting. The iniciadores of Danse de Rue Savate learn the flute. You have a war fork, which to me is my favorite. And they're all the size of a baton. So they're all, this height. You have a clave, which was very essential to that. And it was a sauve's weapon. And I'll talk about sauves later on in our discussions, but the glaive, which is kind of like a sickle, but it goes forward and back. And those were used. Then you have a parisian, which is like a spear, a little bit longer. And that was the last weapon that you used. Do we teach those? Yes. Where do we teach them? Especially here with Paul Viviani's, and we talked about it, and you start off with at green glove of Danse de Rue Savate, you learn canne. At white glove, you start learning baton. At yellow glove, you present baton. And silver glove, you learn whip. When you're a coach, you learn the war fork. When you're iniciador, you learn the flute. When you're an aide monitor, you learn the glaive. When you're a professor, you learn the parisien. Those are the weapons, how it was done. People may argue that in this book it doesn't say that, in this book doesn't say that, and so on and so forth. But let me tell you this. You have to have lived it, to have experienced it, to have understood what they were talking about. And if people want to call and have discussions, we can do so. I'm open to that. It's no big deal. But not everything that was put on the sport was what was taught at a school. Understand? So there were sports that were codified. So as we progress, the stance, and we're going to go back and forth, and I'm going to go into basics, and we're going to go in there. The stance is very simple. If I'm standing here, because the salute is it's a simple salute, where together it goes up, and I'm back into position of fighting. That is my salute. Okay? This is a salute as well in the ring. I hit you wrong, I respect you, let's keep on going. It is no. It is also the salute of Savate. It's also the salute of boxe française. It's also the salute of lutte. So, granted, you have that. So with that being taken, and you're in a God position, this is an ungod position. In gun, my dear brother, is weapon side forward. So if I'm a southpaw and I'm taught this way, well, guess what? This will be my weapon side forward. Canne is a right-handed art. The way you were taught in the back, you were taught in right-handed. Boxers were the first ones, American boxers, to switch sides with the southpaw being stronger. Okay? Understand? Yeah. So before that, everything was done with the right. You learn how to fight with the right, you learn how to write with the right, you learn how to hammer with the right, so on and so on and so forth. And you got a special skill somewhere along the way. If I'm facing an opponent, you have to realize that my point is pointed between his eyes and my eyes. So I have to control the circle. Okay? So regardless of where I move, I'm controlling the position of where I'm at. Okay? It's never lax, even though in Canne de Combat now, a lot of people want speed because of the sport. Remember, Canne de Combat is a what? Sport. So they start holding it here. But again, the ideology is still the same. Connect the dots. Why? Because those are my sights. So people that shoot, that's exactly what I'm going to shoot at. right? So we're looking at how we're arming and how we're blocking, okay? There's very many ways to strike. You know, of course, we can go with the vertical on top, diagonal, horizontal, Now, in the sport, there is no diagonals. Why? Because they're hard to see. But in the system, the style of fighting, there is diagonals. Okay? All right? So I'm going to go through the strikes for you guys. But I'm going to show the blocking first. The blocking is simple. If I'm here in a position here, if I put my hand up here, that's it. Horizontally. Imagine that. Horizontal. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I see a lot of this. You're going to learn real quick not to ground your cane because you're going to break your cane. Simple. So, as we're here, we're going to cover the blocks. Facing. On down, just guard forward. So right here's where the first one is, right? That's the first block. Okay, that's how far it is. Why? Because if I strike you, I'm not going to hit you. If you bring it forward, I will hit you. In the end, I will bring it down and take you. So as I'm here, right over. See, that's what's going to protect. Now, you see how I'm pivoting to give me the reach. Understand? Watch my calves. My calves play an important part. This is foot placement. Okay, understand? Now, sideways, you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? See? Yeah. Is there a block downward? No. Because in the sport, you cannot hit the groin. So they don't worry about that. But in the street, there's a lot of other things we can do. So as I strike, that's called a brise. This is cross brise. This is called lateral. So it'll be vertical. Lateral. Cross lateral. Now, here's high line. Stay right there. No. I'm going to go midsection. It's still there. You see the block? All you do is drop it lower or invert it down. Okay? Because this is a strike. Now, can I strike the legs? Of course. Just drop it down. Right? So I'm going to do cross lateral to the leg. That's it. Okay? In the sport, you want the calf. Why the calf? This is a point. This is a point. This is a point. If I hit the thigh, unfortunately with a stick and I hit the thigh, a person can muffle that. Will take that to his advantage. But if I hit you here, believe me, you're going to be crunching your leg. Okay? So you have to understand that. Striking with the weapon. Last 2 inches. The bottom. Point or pique. Point or pique. Talon. Okay? Do you use them to strike? Of course you use them to strike. Okay, now I'm going to show you all something a little bit different. Stand right here. Watch. He's right in my guard. Watch what I'm going to do. Understand? We're side by side. If I'm fighting in the streets, I have to have correct posture and form. I start seeing a lot of this. See? All right? Do that in the subway. Do that in an alley. Okay? Do that in the battlefield. Remember, from here, it goes in. Bam. Breezy. Bam. 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 Why don't I go out? Why don't I do this to strike out? You can't, because I'm going to take my friend. So you have to understand that. So again, if I'm here, I'm going to do the strikes. Brise, cross the brise, lateral, which go high, medium, low. Cross the lateral, which is the high, medium, low. Pique, talon, brise. See? It's here. Manchette. The manchette is the most dangerous out of all of them because it doesn't prejudice. If I got somebody here that's holding a guard and here and I go, bing, I'm going across this, then go, gone. Now, when we strike, and this is the truth, a lot of people coming from the other arts want to hammer for it. For example, here. This is a lateral. See? People want to do this. You're going to break your cane. It's going to snap. It's going to go bye-bye. I don't care if it's old, maple. Believe me, it happens. Okay? It happened to me. So, you strike with the tip. You see what I'm reaching? And if I strike you in the head at that short period, I'm going to break your skull. Okay? If I'm going to thrust you, I don't care which way I thrust you, I'm going to maim you. Understand? So that's why thrusts are not in the sport. Because they'll go through a mask. Okay? A thrust, a pique, used with a cane and used with hardwood and used with intent is going to stop a person. I poke your eye, maim you, you don't have an eye, I blind you, the fight is over. I guarantee it's going to be done. Now, as a brise, the brise comes in, over. See? That's what I want. A lot of people want to do this, hit and they go, no. It's a tip. It's like if I'm casting. Okay? So from here, boom. Now, malice, understanding, experience, moving, and I'm here in front of my brother, and I'm going to strike head. I go, here's where the malice comes in.
Because they're
Understand? So you have to take that for granted, because we stop at the center lines. I do not take a strike and stop here. I take a strike and stop here. Here. Okay, I'm going to strike at your center line for you to be able to move it somewhere else. If I go to the top, and I go to the top here. Now, here's the difference. I'm going to go like the Nazi block. There's a little pearl, and I learned this from Sadi himself. As I strike, boom. Watch my grouping for a crosse brise. People say, you don't hit the hands. Really? You hit the hands regardless. I'm not going for the hand. The hand's going to get touched anyway. Understand?
Yeah, I felt it.
So if I go lateral, boom. You see?
Uh-huh.
Here's my grouping. I go lateral. Here's my grouping. Understand the difference? Things like this have to be taught, and you feel it in person to person. You pick up a manual, you might get a movement, but you're not going to get the energy and the spirit of the intent of what that instructor was telling.
I've learned stick before. I want you to understand that when I see this, as Professor Buitron said, there's commonality. But what's really cool is when he said, oh look, as I bring it back through, I already hit your hand, it came up, same motion. It wasn't a direct, I had to waste it. And I love the idea of, in arnis, we tell people not to fly fish, but we also don't have any of the hand motion that comes from the relationship of the tools of the time period. I am so amazed. I love learning from this because it just adds to my library of understanding. He's a truly amazing person, and I appreciate the time being here.
And I want to touch base, because we're still at this, with baton. This is a baton. So all the weapons, it's not known as grand baton, it's baton. All the weapons that are concurrent to this, the flu, the glaive, the parisian, the war fork, are in this line of family, as Sadi told me. There's a picture up there with Sadi with a flu. And the guard is all the same. In Canne, hold this please.
Yes, sir.
We're here. Book française, Canne. See that? Okay? The closer I am, my left hand comes in closer. The further I am, my left hand is out, fine, to move my heart out of the way. Because I don't know what he has. Okay? But this teaches you angulations. These teach you how to recognize flight zones of attacks and speed. But this teaches you force. And again, the grip, again, one fist down. The grip is just like in boxing, and it's width apart. It's not one over. Both hands forward. Just like in boxing. Now, this changes a bit. Remember what I said? Weapon side forward, stronger side goes from here. And again, if I'm here pointing, my point is between your eyes. Okay? And that's what it is. But later on, we'll cover some more. Till next time, peace.
Great night. Very cool.
That's enough. I want to thank you for giving me this chance. Folks, we're going to be doing a bunch of stuff moving over. And keep liking, keep sharing. Danse de Rue Savate, as many people misunderstand, is the appendage disciplines and the concurrent disciplines taught in the progression as they were pre-1978. Till next time, peace.
Of Professor Buitron. Come train at the best-kept secret of Laredo. Buitron Academy, 956-401-4868. Savate.biz.